Hello, scrappers, recyclers, and investors. Welcome to Shark Scrapper Live, where we talk about the precious metals industry, the industrial metals industry. We have a safety note, and it's all how this impacts us as scrappers and recyclers. And for those of you that are also investors, it might help you to make some decisions on what you're going to do with your investment dollars. It's great to be here. Been a great week. Lovely weather up here in the mountains this week, and hopefully you all had some great weather too. Let's see, who do we have in here? Scrapping Irish is with us. Richard Holbert is with us. Roger at CU Scrapping might be in and out because he's having some internet problems. JR Cat is in the house. Great to have you all here. I'm sure that we will have more folks joining us as we move along. Now, some of you may notice that there's something new in the background. Yes, that's a Christmas tree. We love Christmas here in the Shark household, and I tell you what, as soon as Halloween is over, Mrs. Shark has me bringing the stuff in from storage. So we love this time of year. We love the holidays, and it's great to have the Christmas tree. Now, that particular Christmas tree is all shark and marine kind of stuff. So many of the ornaments have been sent to me by folks like you all, as well as friends and family members that don't really know that I'm on YouTube, but know that I love sharks. It's a fun tree, and it's one of the many trees that we have up in the house and will come up in the house. We're in the process of decorating right now. We have a great show lined up today, so I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the tree. I want to get right into our precious metal for today, and that precious metal is going to be silver. We love silver. I love silver. Silver is that precious metal that most of us can afford to be in. When you're talking even at $50 an ounce, it's an affordable category for a lot of us. Right now we're talking 48.54 an ounce, so that's US dollars per ounce. And this is on the APMEX website. Now, I do need to make a new caveat to what I usually say about APMEX. In the past, I always said that I was not sponsored. I got no remuneration, et cetera, et cetera. Now, through the magic of YouTube, I have to tell you that I do have a relationship with APMEX. It's a YouTube sponsorship type of relationship with APMEX, and I'm still learning how this is going to play out. But when I was approved and joined, I was told that I have to reveal that I now have this relationship with APMEX. So just in case you're wondering, things have changed a little bit, and I'll let you know how that plays out. We'll see if there's any real change to what it means. The biggest thing that it means is that APMEX can use my content from this video and apply it to their marketing and advertising. And then somehow or another, I suppose I get some sort of remuneration for that. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. So silver, 48.54. And we can see here, we're looking at the 1 week chart. And man, we started the week dropping out. We climbed back up. We had a drop. We climbed back up. We had a drop. I don't get too excited about the 1 week churn. I mean, if we look at the troughs, the troughs are all climbing. If we look at the peaks are all dropping. But 1 week chart, that really doesn't, it just, for me, the long-term signal isn't there to tell me a whole lot other than the fact that investors are trying to figure out what they're going to do. If we look at the 3 month chart, we had that button there, dummy. So 3 month chart, we had this nice climb up for silver. And then depending upon how you want to look at this, I interpret this as a sudden drop with a slower churn kind of thing going on afterwards. So that's not uncommon when you're talking any kind of metal, but especially the precious metals. The price gets pumped way out. There's a correction, and then the investors try to figure out what they're going to do after that correction. Let's pop right over here to 1 year, and we can see that throughout the year we had this nice slow. I mean, you would say that it was a pretty steep climb if you looked at it this way and see, if you just connected the ends, you'd say we're up 48%. But we had been up even more, and but you can see that the prices are all well below that straight line. So we were churning along here for a while, and then we started coming up a little bit steeper slope, and then another steeper slope, and then another steeper slope, and then we really went to town climbing up here before we had this big correction, and now we're churning along here. The trading economics site actually gives us a little better granularity in what this looks like. So here's the trading economics chart, and this is again a 1 year graph. So it's still the 1 year period, but it is broken up into 1 day intervals. So that's why we see a bit more of this churn that was taking place throughout that 1 year period. Hopefully some of you were able to sell up in here. I did okay on selling some of my silver, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I may sell even some more silver now. I mean, this is churning along. I'm giving some thought to maybe taking some more money. But I haven't made a decision one way or another. All right, so let's see. What are we saying here? Silver rose by almost 1% to around 48.50 per ounce on Friday, extending the recent gains as weak U.S. data strengthened demand for safe haven assets. And expectations for a Federal Reserve rate cuts. Now remember, when the interest rates go down, investors are more inclined to go into precious metal safe haven assets because they're not going to earn as much on other investments that are based on interest rates. We see the consumer sentiment dropped to 50.3 in November, the second lowest reading on record, and below the expected 53.2 as Americans became increasingly worried about potential economic impact of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Yeah, I tell you what, this is really rubbing on a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people are out of jobs. We've got a lot of things that just aren't happening, and it started impacting our travel here in the U.S. For my overseas friends, you may have read about it, but the FAA is telling the airlines to cut back on their flights, and so what the airlines are doing is they're giving priority to sustaining international flights and cutting back on domestic flights in order to meet the FAA requirements. So domestic flights are getting cut back a lot. So this is playing into people's concerns, and when investors get concerned, they go to silver and gold, and another metal that we'll talk about here in a minute. Also on Thursday, private data showed the U.S. economy shed 153,000 jobs in October, the highest for that month in 22 years, largely linked to cost cutting and AI integration. Ooh, there's that dreaded word, AI integration. As a result, the markets increased bets on a December Fed cut, pricing in about a 70% chance. I mean, this is what the full-time, industrial investors do. I mean, this is the game they play. Now, they use a lot of numerical models and AI to help them make determinations on what way things are going to go. But for most of us, we're watching how things play out and making decisions. Meanwhile, broad risk off sentiment, fueled by sharp losses in U.S. tech stocks amid concerns over inflated AI valuations, added further support. All right, so that's a lot of discussion about why we saw. Let me get the arrow up here. Why we saw this correction and why we're seeing this churn going on here. Let's go ahead and put up the candlesticks and zoom in because this is interesting to see. Here we're in the run up to 50, 50, we get over 50, we're over 50, we correct. And now investors are trying to decide which way they're going to go. So you see some ups and downs playing out here as the investor community is chewing on all of this data that we just talked about. Because there's a whole lot of data pointing in different directions that investors need to decide which way are we going to go. And this is why I haven't made any decisions on what I'm going to do with my silver yet, other than what I sold, early on. All right, so let's get back to the 1 year. Let's get back to the line, and let's look at the forecast. And we see a nice, healthy upward trend going on here. It will, the forecast is for a nice climb out. And I'm gaining more and more confidence in the trading economics forecast lines because you may recall about a month or so ago, I don't remember, a couple months ago, I had sent out some posts and some comments to folks about a forecast that showed for silver and gold a drop followed by a climb. And sure enough, that's what has played out. We had the correction, and now we're going to climb back up again. So I am gaining more and more confidence in these trading economic forecasts from a long-term perspective. So what that means for me, and something for you all to think about if you have physical silver, is maybe hold on to it because we could get in that over 50 category again. And that'll be a nice area to sell in. Now, there is something that I want to bring to our attention. If we look at as far back as these records go, which we're going back to the mid 70s, you can see that we popped off a 50 back here. And this is where we again stumbled a little bit, but the forecast wants to keep going up here. So will we break through this resistance that is in that $50 category? You talk to a lot of people that are into silver and you say 50 and they say, oh yeah, that's the top. So will we break through that resistance, that ceiling on silver, and go well over 50? Here they're saying 50 to 90, $53 an ounce. Be nice if it does. It'll be fun to watch and see if that could play out. I'm going to go back to the 5-year chart here. So here's my play. I am going to, unless something changes a lot, I think I'm just going to hang on to my silver for right now. And I'm going to wait for it to get back up in that $50 category. And once, we get back up in that $50 range, then I'll probably think about selling some more of my silver. Now, one of the things that I would caution you out there is if you don't have silver, you may want to think twice about buying silver. Now, I got to throw a whole lot of caveats on this one because, if when we see silver prices get this high, you scratch your head and you say, are we ever going to get this high again? If I buy now, am I going to risk losing a lot of money? Well, as people have rightly pointed out, that same story played out with gold. And, again, if we look at the history of silver, we can see that there were, a few times when we were getting up here in this $50 range and we crashed, but then we climbed back up again. So if you don't have silver right now, I would be very, very cautious buying into this market. Really think this one through because you may have to hang on to it for a while before you can recoup your premium and then recover and make some more money from it. It's just a word of caution. I mean, I'm not a licensed investor. I can't. I don't provide any kind of legal advice on investing at all. These are my concerns, my thoughts. This is the way I look at the market. So make sure you keep that in mind. I would just be very, very careful buying into these highs right now. And instead, what you might want to do is just get your cash position ready for the next inevitable correction with silver, because historically that happens. If you do buy into this market, I hope I'm wrong, because I don't want to see anybody ever lose money. And that's why I'm always so cautious about what to do when prices get this high. All right, let's see what you all have got to say about the silver market. I'm going to pop over. I'm going to leave this up, and I'm going to go look at the comments. So let's see. Well, that's not very nice, Richard. That's just not very nice at all. My tree is much better than Charlie Brown's because mine isn't leaning over. It does have a blanket swaddling it, though, so maybe that's why it's standing upright. Oh, let's see. Ed Weber joined the house. Ed, great to have you here. Sister G123 has joined the show. Great to have you all here. Thank you, Sister G. I appreciate that. She's a lovely tree. I appreciate that. Electronic Scrapper is in the house. Great to have you here. Yeah, J.R. Cat says that he knows a lot about the shoulda, woulda, coulda blues. I think everybody does, right? If you're in this game, if you're doing this, yeah, pretty much everybody does. Boy, I mean, I absolutely do not do that in the stock market at all. And I'm just because I lost way too much money when I first started investing in stocks, which is why I'm a really boring dividend investor now. Richard is saying that I started a Schwab account 6 years back. I put $30 a week into my stock account. It's like 14K now, doing well on some stocks, down on others, up on others, about 6K so far. Very cool, man. Very cool. That's what I like to hear. And the interesting thing about the stock market is, and to a certain extent, it's true with our silver and gold holdings, though not exactly the same. But, with the stock market, you're up, but you're not really up because that money isn't in your bank account. And the risk, the danger that some people will make is they'll borrow money against the increased value of their stock. But if their stock goes tank, now they've lost the money on the stock and they don't have the payback. And if you take a loan and you're using stocks as collateral, boy, that can get ugly fast. So it's great to be up on your stocks, but it's not really your money until you sell it and you have that money in hand. And that's why I find it a little bit interesting when people talk about, well, we should tax the increased value of a person's stock market portfolio. Well, you can't really tax it because it's not really their money at that point. It's not money until you sell your stock. And you could lose money as easily as you could make money. So, there's that going on. It's a little bit different with silver and gold because there's always a certain intrinsic value in silver and gold. Now, you could certainly lose money. If you buy $50 an ounce silver and it crashes back down to $20, $30 an ounce, you could lose that money if you sell that silver. But there's always a certain intrinsic value in silver and gold. Whereas I have bought stocks that then became completely worthless. I mean, zero. That will almost likely never happen with silver and gold. If it does, it means the zombie apocalypse is in play, and well, then it doesn't matter, does it? Merchant Metals has joined us. Great to have you, Merchant Metals. Always good to have you on board. All right. Well, it is now time for us to do our safety discussion. And our safety discussion today is going to have a little bit of show and tell. Now, our safety discussion today was brought to us by multiple videos and comments and things that I saw going on the internet about either people getting hurt or touching things they wish they had and such. So, safety gloves are very much like, a mask or eye protection. You need to wear the right glove for the right purpose. Certainly these heavier leather gloves, there we go. These heavier leather type of gloves are the thing you want to wear if you're doing something like shifting a lot of steel around, things with sharp edges, a lot of scrap metal, or cutting wood. These I wear here at the house when I'm cutting wood, and I still have a lot of trees that need my attention. So when the chainsaw is going, these are on. And when I was street scrapping, I tended to wear gloves like this because there are a lot of sharp edges on the stuff that we would find street scrapping. And this heavier leather gives us much better protection. Now, there's different styles of leather gloves, and there are nylon gloves with leather palms. So, it's whatever you're comfortable with. But the intent is that you want something that's going to protect your hands from getting cut. I like these because they have the canvas in the back that is a little flexible, but still gives me good protection. So when I'm reaching into a pile of leaves and things, I'm not getting all cut up. Now, of course, your tactile capability is greatly reduced with heavy gloves like this. So sometimes you're going to want a glove similar to this, where you have a coating of some sort on the palm side and you have this nylon on the back. This gives you a lot more flexibility. You see me wearing gloves like this in the shark cage a lot. They're a lime green color. The the plastic that's on the front has a little bit of tackiness to it, so I have a better tactile feel. They fit really tight, and that tactile feel is important for when I'm unscrewing things and such. Plus, the ones that I wear in the shark cage my iPhone will sense my fingers through the material, and I can, use my phone if I need to. I usually take the glove off anyway because I don't want to be putting junk all over the screen of the phone. But this style glove is good for when you're actually breaking things up when you're working on those computers, because it'll, again, protect your fingertips and your fingers from those sharp edges that we find on the computer shells and on the edges of boards, all the little pinpoints that are on the back of the boards, but it gives you a better tactile feel and flexibility. Now, the problem with both of these style of gloves is that they are liquid permeable, and then you can, have stuff get on your skin that you don't want on your skin. So these kind of gloves are what you want if you are going to be working around liquids that you don't want to get onto your skin. You need to make sure that when you are handling, especially acids, that you're wearing the right kind of glove for the acid that you're going to be handling. Nitrile, that's what this is, a black nitrile glove. They're pretty good for weak general acids, but they're not going to stand up against fuming, which are very concentrated acids. So you want to make sure that you're very careful with, with the kind of gloves that you wear. There's butyl gloves and neoprene for stronger acids, Latex is, yeah, not really good for acids. Some acids will just take it right off. So, you be careful with that. The best thing to do is if you're going to be working with acids is to check. There's plenty of charts online where you can go look at what type of glove will protect you from the acid that you're going to be handling. That's the absolute safest thing to do. Don't guess when you're handling acids. Now, the other thing to think about when you're handling strong corrosives, whether it's an acid or a base, is your arms, right? You know, this is great for when I'm out back picking up poop from Lulu. Um, but if I'm handling acids and my whole arm is exposed, splashes and things like that could still get on my bare skin. That's why they have a lot of gloves that actually have a sleeve that comes all the way up your arm. If you're working with hot material, even just grinding, many of you have experienced this when you're grinding or if you're pouring molten material. It can splash, get on your arm, and burn you when you're grinding. Those little flecks can, they're basically molten metal. They'll get on your arm and they can burn you. So you want to have sleeves. And I have a pair of leather gloves at the shop that have sleeves. You've seen me put them on sometimes for that very reason. I also have just standalone sleeves. They're leather sleeves that I can put on no matter what glove I'm wearing at the time. Now, of course, there's also gloves that you wear to keep your hands warm when it's cold weather. So, that's another reason for gloves. The bottom line is make sure you get the right kind of glove for the situation that you're going to be in. I have seen people scrapping things wearing these gloves. I'm not going to say their names, but their initials are Ian Matthews. And I just scratch my head and just, why bother? What are you doing? That's not going to do anything. It's going to get cut and sliced and not protect you at all. And sure enough, that's what happens. So, the right glove for the right situation. And if you're handling acids or strong bases, please check the chart and make sure that whatever type of glove you're wearing, it's going to protect you. All right. Let's see. I know some of you that are really into the recovery and refining stuff. Probably have a few comments. Richard says, wear nitrile gloves and pour nitric on it. Wave your burning hands around. It'll make a cool video. Yeah, No. Nope, not going to do that. Nope. JR Cat says he got his mother-in-law some NBC. By the way, those of you that don't know NBC, that's nuclear biochemical attack. JR Cat's got military experience like I do, so I got that one. Yeah, cat litter. Oh my God, man, that's one of the reasons I don't have cats. But yeah, I get that, man. I'm thinking you mean he has his own coffee cup at the ER. Oh, Ian, I got you now. I got you. Yeah, I bet he does if he ever goes. Oh man, that's funny. Okay, so it is industrial metal time now. Let's pop on over. So, yeah, Ian, I got you, man. I got you. All right, so I love this about. I'm going to show you this on the Trading Economics website. So here we're talking silver, right? So if I want to go over now to pull up the aluminum chart, I just go down here to more. And I don't know if this is in the free version or if you have to subscribe. So I'm subscribed, so I get all this other stuff. I just go over here now to the aluminum chart. Now, be careful here. The aluminum chart is US dollars per ton, and that's a capital T. So we're talking metric ton here. So just, always pay attention to the units that are involved in any chart that you're going to look at. I mean, I learned that one in high school. So aluminum futures in the UK fell to 2,850 per ton. I think it's interesting that they're talking about futures in the UK, but they're talking US dollars per ton. Uh, yeah. Anyway, from a 3-year high of 2,915 on November 1st, tracking a broad pullback for base metals and amid soft manufacturing PMIs. Okay, let's talk about PMIs for a minute because most people, especially here in the United States, when you say PMI, they're thinking personal mortgage insurance, right? It's if you don't put down 20% or more of a loan on a mortgage, you have to get PMI, right? That's not what they're talking about here, so don't confuse that. PMI in this sense is Purchasing Managers Index. It is a key economic indicator on the health of manufacturing. It's calculated by conducting surveys of a set of large manufacturers that include things like new orders, production, employment, inventories. Anyway, they crunch all these numbers and then they come out to a scale that's based on 50. So if the PMI is 50 that month, and it's always done monthly, so if the PMI comes out at 50, then there's been no change. If it's greater than 50, that means there's expansion or growth in the manufacturing. If it's below 50, that means there's a contraction or shrinkage. So that's what they mean when they say PMI. Don't confuse that with the insurance that so many of us are used to. So anyway, PMIs in the US and China. Still lingering supply concerns, maintain prices 12% higher to date. We're going to talk about that here near the end. China reiterated its priority of preventing overcapacity in metal production to curb deflationary pressures. The country's aluminum output cap of 45 million tons annually is on track to be breached by next year, and moves by the Chinese smelters to build. I love that word, smelters, because I like saying schmelters. Smelters. Anyway, to build new plants in Indonesia is facing some problems because of higher energy costs and local regulations on risks. Remember, aluminum smelting is very energy intensive. It takes a lot of electricity to run the arc furnaces that are necessary to smelt aluminum out of bauxite ore. So it's very energy intensive. Troubles for key smelters elsewhere are also pressuring supply. One of two pot lines in Iceland, however they say that. I apologize to my Icelandic friends. I'm not even going to try to say that. I don't want to insult you. Had to be suspended because of electrical equipment problems. And Alcoa announced that it was shutting its Kwinana alumina refinery in Australia because of deteriorating bauxite ore grades. So once the bauxite ore gets poor enough, they're extracting so little aluminum out of it that it becomes economically unfeasible to continue. And you either have to find richer grades of bauxite or you shut the mine down and move on. And, that presents some interesting challenges because depending upon the country and the regulations, you then have to, if you're lucky, your country and your government has required that the miners set aside money to reclaim the land, put it back to some, environmentally clean state. If not, and this frequently happens in the poorer countries of the world, especially when like Russia or China comes in, and they mine the hell out of the place. And when it's no longer feasible, they run away. Now you've got an open pit mine that's leaching all kinds of nasty stuff. It's an environmental hazard, and it's the local people that suffer. Um, I suspect that between Alcoa and Australia, if they have to leave that mine, they're going to be doing things to bring it back to an environmentally benign state so that it's okay. Maybe even improve it. You never know. So aluminum is having some challenges right now, but we can see if we look at this chart, this is the 1 year chart. Here we are, 1 year. And although we had a lot of variability going on here early in the year, it generally climbed before we had this crash that came from the US tariff announcements and stuff. And now, although, again, very jagged, a lot of variability, but overall, the aluminum market is starting to recover from that. Actually, it has recovered because it's over where it was earlier in the year. If we look at the 5-year chart here, we can see that aluminum is down from the 5-year period. If we look at the entire history of aluminum, yeah, we're okay. We're better than sometimes, not as good as others, right? We're in this area where there's only been 2 other peaks historically that were better than where our prices are right now. So, from a scrap perspective, aluminum isn't doing that bad. I may feel like it because if you were around during those higher peaks, you might feel like aluminum isn't doing too well, but really it's not doing that bad. And if we look at the forecast for aluminum, well, we see a nice, slow, gradual climb out here. This curve, the slope of this line, not as steep as silver was. Remember, silver was kind of more like that. So a nice gradual climb in aluminum. And, that's good for us as scrappers because that allows us to treat aluminum as that cash flow metal that we don't have to overthink. And we frequently find ourselves second guessing and overthinking so much in our scrap market that it's nice to have a metal with a lot of different products that we can present from that metal that we don't have to think about. So if it's clean aluminum, cast aluminum, sheet aluminum, dirty aluminum, however your yard is buying the aluminum, just whatever size works for you. If it's a bin, if it's the back of your pickup, if it's the back of your van or whatever you're using, you fill it up, you take it in, you go out, you get some more. When you have enough of it, you take it in. You can expect your prices are either going to be the same or maybe a little bit higher every time you take it in. And that's good because that way you can kind of have an idea of what to expect from week to week or month to month, depending upon, your periodicity of selling. Now, because I focus on the scrap electronics world, I don't really get as much aluminum as I used to when I was street scrapping, but I still get quite a bit of aluminum, from heat sinks, hard drives. If I was to break them all the way down, sometimes I end up getting them broken down. The shells from certain PCs, laptops, and other components. So even in the electronic scrap world, there's a lot of aluminum that comes in. Now, again, not nearly as much as those of you that are doing the street scrapping, because you get all kinds of cool aluminum that comes in from various sources. So, yeah, aluminum is a great cash flow metal. Just keep bringing it in. That would be my recommendation. So, what do we have going on over on the comment section about aluminum? Let's see. Going back up here real quick. All right, so we're back up to J.R. Cat's comment on Ian having his own coffee cup. I think in Ian's case, there would be a beer mug or shot glass at the ER. It is the United Kingdom, after all. They probably do serve ale or beer at the emergency room. Um, let's see. Jose, welcome. Great to have you here. Hello, sir. I was able to make it over and hang out with the gang. So great to have you here. Awesome, awesome. Everyday Solars had joined us. Solars, welcome. Always good to have you here. Let's see. Plain Scrapper is saying, glad to see aluminum climbing again. I have a fair amount in the piles to haul in. Very cool. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about aluminum, right? I mean, because it doesn't oxidize and rust and go away quite as fast as a lot of other metals do. If all else fails, you can just throw it out back and wait for the prices to come up, huh? And folks saying hello, hello, hello. Solars is saying she sold some aluminum yesterday, needed some money. It's one of the nice things about being a scrapper, isn't it? You can hold some stuff out back if you have the room. That's a big thing if you have the room. You stash some stuff out back, and when you need some cash, you go down to the scrapyard, sell it, and now you got some cash in hand to, I don't know, go out on a date, buy some food, whatever you need. Um, let's see. Plain Scrapper, my most recent infusion of aluminum came from a street scrapped roll up awning. Oh, yeah. Yep. That would make that would be a lot of aluminum. That would be nice. I did the panels on a garage door once. Boy, howdy, that was interesting. All right, good discussion on aluminum there, and I had some comments come in. Folks were asking about platinum, and I don't usually talk about platinum, but it's been a while, been a long time since I have talked about platinum, and I had a few people, over the course of the last few weeks asking me about platinum in my comments and stuff. So I thought we should talk about platinum. Now, of course, we look over here on this first commodity chart at Trading Economics site, and you don't see platinum on here. So we'll click on more, and we're going down here: crude, gasoline, heating oil, ethanol, naphtha. This is one of the reasons I love this Trading Economics site, by the way. So there's a free version that y'all can go get to, and then you can also subscribe. And I don't even remember what it cost me, but it doesn't cost that much at all to get access to a lot more tools. So here's platinum. So we click on platinum, and we see the platinum traded around 1,550 an ounce, retreating from its mid-October peak of 1722 as safe haven demand eased after U.S.-China trade agreement amid hawkish tilt from the Federal Reserve. And under the trade deal, China and the U.S., they talk about the trade deal that China and the U.S. hammered out. We'll see how that one plays out. Some people are calling it a deal. Some call it a truce. We'll see. Here they're talking about the October PMI, again, PMI, slipping to 50.6. Now remember, anything above 50 is growth, but if it's not as good as it had been, then that growth is slowing down, and so we're getting a slowdown in growth. Meanwhile, Fed Chair Powell indicated that a rate cut could be the final one for the year. Other people have said, no, we might need to do another one. So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, platinum is up nearly 60% year to date, outperforming gold and silver, supported by tight supply and strong industrial demand. And traders are eyeing a potential platinum futures launch in China to boost liquidity. Oh man, that's dangerous. Anyway, meanwhile, U.S. Section 232 investigation into critical mineral imports poses further tariff-related risk. Remember, we talked about U.S. 232 investigations with copper. Basically, that's the U.S. government trying to decide if if there's import risks to U.S. defense industries and what they can do to prevent that. So we'll see how that one plays out. The reason I said the futures launch in China is always dangerous because futures tend to cause investors to speculate at times, and that can be bad overall because if enough people with enough money speculate on anything, in this case platinum, then weird things can happen in the market that affect everybody for no reason whatsoever. That's based, no reason based on the reality of the situation. So there is that. Uh, another interesting thing that we saw here was that platinum has done better than gold and silver. Now, I don't invest in platinum. I invest in gold and silver. Why? Because I can take gold and silver down to my coin collector, my pawn shop, and they will have no problem buying it, especially if it is a recognized branded bullion, round, or bar, like APMEX. But, some people still treat it as bullion. So, in fact, we're going to go back over here to the APMEX site, and you can see that you can see the spot price for platinum here on the APMEX site. You can go up here to their products, and here's platinum products. So you can see coins and bars and rounds and proof coins, and here's all the stuff that you would normally see in gold and silver. You can see it in platinum as well. So you got Britannias, and you've got Australian mint coins. You've got here's another Australian, the kangaroo. I know a lot of people love the kangaroos. Some people love the kookaburras. You can get those in platinum as just as well as you can silver or gold. All right, here's the Philharmonics. These are all recognized coins that, or rounds. They're technically not coins that people like to buy. So there's there's that side. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big fan of platinum. I just, for me, it was just one of those things that I just had a hard time wrapping my head around. Could I sell this if I needed to? And that was always a big part of the lessons that I learned from mistakes I made early on in my investment days. And I'm always very careful to say to myself, okay, if I need to sell this, am I going to have any problems selling it? And go from there. But hey, in our scrap world, we actually come across platinum a lot, right? I think most of you probably know that when it comes to scrap, platinum, the platters on the hard drives, that shiny coating that you see on the hard drive is platinum. If you've never seen how that is applied, it's a really cool process. Of course, there's YouTube videos out there where you can see how it's sputtered and spun on. It's very thin, and platinum, although platinum does dissolve in hot aqua regia. I don't know if any home refinery recovery people go after platinum. I don't know if it's a challenging thing, more challenging than gold. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. So there is platinum out there that we're going to find. Now, of course, you're also very used to platinum in catalytic converters. You're going to find catalytic converters all over the place. If you're out there, stealing catalytic converters, that's not a good thing. But the reason you see them all over the place is because Pretty much every gasoline powered car, some of the diesels too, but every gasoline powered car in America and probably in Europe has a catalytic converter on it. And, there's people out there stealing them, and that's a whole nother discussion. But there's a lot of value in catalytic converters. Now, here in the United States, we have very strict laws about selling catalytic converters. It all depends on your state, what your local laws are going to be. But at a minimum, got to imagine every state in the U.S. requires at least some sort of documentation or proof that the catalytic converter is yours. Now, we've gone back and forth on situations where people would claim to be an automobile shop. And so they had a bunch of catalytic converters because they were replacing them. And in fact, they were just stealing them. Again, we could do an entire hour-long discussion on catalytic converters. But the point is there's platinum in catalytic converters because platinum is a catalyst. It's one of those chemical characteristics of platinum that makes it valuable in industry. And in fact, one of the uses for platinum is to make, because it's a catalyst, it's often used to make nitric acid, nylon, and fertilizer. So there are industrial uses for platinum that most of us aren't aware of or don't think about. In addition to the hard drives that we're used to in scrap, excuse me, platinum is also used on contacts and electrodes and temperature sensors because it has a very high melting point. And that makes it very useful in some of these industrial applications as well. Now, there's also another interesting use of platinum that some of us may or may not know about, but in the medical world, platinum is considered one of those biologically adaptive or safe metals. So it is also used in things like stents and pacemakers and other devices like these defibrillators. By the way, you should always pay attention when you're in a big public space like an airport or something like that. Look for if there's AEDs around. If you're trained on it, they can be used to save a life. If you're not trained and there's no one around who is trained, well, they usually have very clear instructions on what to do with them, how to use them. But it might be worth just taking a little bit of time to see a couple of videos on how you use these AEDs, so that if you're ever in a situation that you need one and it's a public space where there is one, then you can do something about it. Let's see, what are some of the other things that you do with platinum? Spark plugs, fuel cells, chemotherapy. It's actually mixed with, apparently it can be used to go after certain cancers. So it's one of those, it's got a lot of uses. And so frequently we don't think about the things that these precious metals can do other than just being a precious metal, right? So I just thought, as I was researching platinum, getting ready for today's show, I just found it really fascinating, all of the different uses that are out there for platinum. All right, so I got to ask though, do any of you invest in platinum? And it's okay if you're buying jewelry as an investment. I mean, you wouldn't, there's nothing that says that jewelry couldn't be an investment as well. I mean, in some parts of the world, that is what people do. They buy jewelry as a wearable investment so that, they can always just throw it on and get out of Dodge. Or, if you're not so depressing view of life, then you can look at it as you can wear it, you can enjoy it, and then if somebody passes on, then that value of the gold, the silver, or the platinum is still there. So let's see. How about what do you got? Comments on platinum, or anybody that joined us late. I'm going back up here in the comment section. Matthew Ward joined us. Welcome. Merchant Metals. I think I said hello already, Merchant Metals. Hard to keep track sometimes and keep going. Oh, Freaking Awesome has joined the show. Great to have you here. Freaking Awesome. Electronic Scrapper, who does a lot of refining, by the way, recovery rates, says not enough platinum and HD platters to go after within his small scale operation. That's good to know. For those of you that don't know, Electronic Scrapper, he does silver and gold recovery. And so if he's saying that for his small scale operation, which is kind of sophisticated, it's not worth it, then that's something to think about. But if you have questions, certainly talk with Electronic Scrapper. Paul is in the house. Welcome, Paul. Great to have you on board. All right, wait a minute. I'm trying to. All right. Well, I was with the wife driving around town, and I know this was last week Q&A, but we found a DirecTV warehouse on the side was a huge dumpster. No worries. No worries. I got it, man. I'd have done the same thing, except Mrs. Shark probably would have shot me, so maybe that would have been an issue. Oh, man. All right, let's see. Richard is saying platinum is very valuable, but very dangerous and expensive to recovery. So he's leaving it alone. Okay. All righty. And I'm sure a lot of you know that Richard does gold for sure. I think he also does silver. Simon, welcome. Great to have you here. Simon is saying platinum indium alloy 90-10% is used in high grade electronic relays. Okay, very cool. Great to know. Mike's meltdown is having trouble with his computer because of the fire. Yeah, man. That's just I don't envy you recovering from that. I mean, I'm glad that the fire wasn't more serious. I'm glad that your Navy training kicked in and you were able to keep it from spreading too far. But man, that's a lot of work getting things back together again after that. Yes, Sullers, that's a Christmas tree in the back there. It's that time of year. Let's see. What is Simon? Oops, wait a minute. Where did I go? Here we are. Simon is also saying platinum MLCC, PME Class A. They're accepted per grades after. I'm having a hard time following that one, but I think we're talking about some type of MLCCs. There's Freaking Awesome has got a question for Electronic Scrapper there. Let's see. But catalytic converters hold major share in recycling source platinum. Yes, absolutely. Because the recovery of the platinum from a catalytic converter is a relatively easy process for the industrial recyclers. They get at the honeycomb and, they're good to go. That's why it's such a big resource and why it's such a big theft issue for sure. Okay, well, that was a very cool discussion. I hope you all enjoyed a little, something a little different going into platinum. We don't usually talk about platinum, so I just thought we'd venture into it a little bit. But it is now time to venture across the pond and join our friend Scrapping Irish over in Ireland. Now, if you have autoplay enabled, then you will be automatically redirected to Ireland when I turn this one off. If you do not have autoplay enabled, then I encourage you to go on YouTube, type in Scrapping Irish. You'll see the live stream pop up. It's always a lot of fun over in Ireland. We have the usual suspects that come up in the panel, but every now and then there's a new face, and we never know what's going to play out during the Q&A because, well, we never know what kind of questions are going to come up, and it's always interesting to see how the conversation unfolds over in Ireland. So I look forward to seeing you all over there, and if you have any other questions that came up during this live stream that you want to continue over there, go ahead and ask away once we get over there. I look forward to seeing you all. If I don't see you in Ireland here pretty soon, have a safe week and keep an eye on those gloves, huh?